Welcome back to Exotic Car Play Place, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. And today's discussion on reliability of luxury cars. Now, some vehicles out there have burned memories in your mind of reliability. Some were good for handling and performance, and some you just liked because they were what they were. But what about vehicles that maybe you had a passion for, but they weren't all that reliable? Well, today's discussion, we're going to really get down and narrow in on the 5 worst vehicles that you can buy in modern late model vehicles that will likely cost you a lot of money and may even leave you stranded on the side of the road. Let's go now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place. So the first such vehicle we are going to talk about today that fits that criteria is the Alfa Romeo. And how about specifically the Giulia, or even more specifically Quadrifoglio? But let's take a look at this. Now, everybody knows the Giulia is actually a fairly newly released vehicle. Now, because it's a modern day Italian car, you have to expect some glitches and gremlins. Some of the problems that we've seen, and I know I had a friend that actually took possession of one of these. He literally got off of the lot and the thing hit a check engine light and he had to turn it right around and take it back to the dealer. Not this one, but another dealer elsewhere. So another issue is the throttle control module. Often have I heard story upon story where it's check engine light, you lose power, and then basically you have to get it reflashed, only to find out that there's no real underlying issue. It always seems to be software based. As well as the chassis electrical modules, basically those things control lights and all kinds of different things like your power locks and lights, signals, flashers. All the electronics for the car go dark and it can leave you stranded, totally stranded, and in an unsafe condition. I've also heard of these vehicles with the auto shutoff when you're on cruise control and you try to deactivate it with the press of a brake, it will not deactivate. Another very dangerous condition. How about a low oil sensor that tells you you're low on oil, only when manually verified you're in fact not low on oil? So it requires a flash, possibly a new sensor, but that's also been a common problem with some of these vehicles. So at the end of the day, this is easily one of the best driver's car, the Quadrifoglio by Alfa Romeo. Unfortunately, it leaves you with some sour taste in your mouth because you can never drive it long enough to actually truly enjoy it, at least on a long trip. So this is the first choice for one of the worst and most unreliable luxury cars available today. So the second least reliable luxury car on my list goes to the Jaguar F-Type. So there's already 2 recalls on this car. One for exterior signal lights and another one for a fuel leak. At the end of the fuel rails under the engine, they have the caps. Well, those caps are starting to leak, or there's a potential leak for those, and the recalls are there to capture that. If you don't take care of it, well, what do you think fuel and hot exhaust do? Boom, flames and explosion. Very dangerous. Other things people have noted are creaking and rattling noises you get from windows and mirrors, and inside they have the vent that pops up. That has been a known failure area as well on these cars. As well, let's not forget the rear differential back there. It is electronic and it is known to fail. So it can leak, and it's also been known to overheat. And on top of that, it also has an active exhaust system, so active valves in there that operate and they open and close depending on what the mode of operation is. If you want to run the system closed, you know, in comfort modes or the sport mode, it would open up. But those exhaust valves tend to stick open and run wide open at times. So those need a fix. That has been a known issue too. And because of these problems and many others, as it is a Jaguar, so this gains the lower than average predicted reliability by J.D. Powers and Associates. And so my third choice for one of the poor choices for reliability in the luxury vehicle segment goes to the Cadillac Escalade. Lots of great things about them. They're very, very exclusive, they're expensive, they're loaded, but they have their issues. Let's talk about some of that right now. Well, firstly, J.D. Power and Consumers Reports both rate them below average for predicted reliability. Why? Well, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but there's also some quality control issues there that we might want to address. For example, there's a recall for bad fuel filters that can leak gas. Of course, what does leaking gas do for a vehicle? Well, poof, can go up in flames. That is one particular problem that's known for these vehicles. Another one is the hot exhaust system that runs from there, goes all the way down to the back of the vehicle and out the back, is known to melt plastic in certain spots. Well, that melting plastic then results in some dripping plastic, which of course can result in a fire. And the wheels have been known to potentially fall off because of an inboard retention nut that holds the whole assembly on the hub. That has been known to back off, and the wheel can come dismounted from the vehicle, causing the vehicle to go off into a dangerous condition. Another couple issues are seat belts, control arms on the suspension, as well as steering linkages have known to come loose, start making noise, banging around. A lot of customers have complained about that as well, which potentially can lead to driving issues and safety concerns as well. So the next least reliable luxury vehicle on my list goes to the Volkswagen Atlas, and it was plagued with a lot of problems. We're talking about reliability issues as well as many recalls, some dangerous recalls. Let's talk. So firstly, they got below average rating for Consumers Reports and JD and Associates, so they don't get very good rating. Why? Well, some of it's because the vehicle is fairly new. Now, like with anything, when you kick something out new vehicle, new style, new design, there's often bugs associated with that. One issue is this driver's side mirror. At about 60 miles per hour, people are commenting that it's emitting a very aggressive wind noise through the cabin. So there's an insulation related issue that's causing this, but that is a problem. Another issue is coolant leaks. There's been lots and lots of references and people commenting on the forums of significant coolant leaks. There's been lots of discussions on the forums talking about that, where there may or may not be a little puddle on the floor at the end of a drive. In most cases not. In most cases, all people do is start to notice that their coolant level is dropping over time. And there's a hint, an odor of antifreeze that wafts out every once in a while. There's also issues with the air conditioner emitting smells too. May or may not be related to the antifreeze. However, that is another issue with these vehicles. So how about other issues? How about the fuel tank? Well, the fuel tank is known to have leaks, and those leaks, obviously dripping fuel, can ignite a spark and kaboom. I mean, after all, the fuel tank is located right near the hot exhaust system, so what do you think? It's the recipe for disaster. That's another problem issue. Another issue are the coil springs at the back. So it has springs for the suspension, which allows the vehicle to ride softly. Well, those springs are known to collapse or snap or break or shatter. And with collapsed springs, that could result in a corner dropping, a vehicle sending off into oblivion, crashing, possibly causing injury to drivers and or passengers. And one other ugly situation could be the airbag module, which can get shorted out by leaking air conditioner, shorts out the module, which in turn can inadvertently send the airbags exploding on the passenger in their face and causing injury. And especially driving down the road, this can lead to a serious incident, accident, and or death. Volkswagen did a great job in bringing out a luxury upscale SUV. Unfortunately, there are a few bugs. Wait a few years and we might be on the right track. And so the fifth vehicle on my list goes to the Tesla, specifically the Model X, but they all suffer similar issues, and let's get into that. Many of the Teslas suffer from quality control issues, panel gaps. As you can see right there, just below the window, that chrome trim is actually higher than the back door trim. You can see panel gap issues there. You could see gaps along the doors that don't match up. They're not even. As well as some of the electronics have been consistently a problem. So there have been general quality issues, electronic issues, HVAC issues, the iPad, controls in general. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, the service network is restricted to a little minivan showing up at your door and fixing it at will. Now, lots of problems. The biggest problem I see here with the Teslas, the car is entirely electronic. Now, that's not to say that a person is resistant of change. What that means is it's like everything electronic today's. Electronics like TVs, DVDs, computers, the whole gambit is made to be throwaway. It's cheap, it works for 5 years, you throw it away when it stops working. There's not a lot of support to fix things like that, electronics. Now, Teslas in my mind are similar to that. Very expensive batteries, expensive motors, and you have electronic glitches galore. When all of that stops working, what are you left with? A very, very expensive TV. So that is where it becomes a problem, and you're restricted to who can actually fix it. You need a special certified person who is trained on Tesla and Tesla only. All right, guys, that summarizes this video. That's the 5 of the least reliable vehicles available in the luxury segment today. They all bring something to the table, and they all drive well, or they do something unique, and that's why these vehicles sell. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell. There's something about them that people like. Reliability isn't necessarily one of them. So if you liked the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to drop a line. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye.